We're live.
PFP family, thanks for hopping on. If you're not on, thanks for rewatching the replay of our Facebook Live. I feel like Travis and I have, we've been a little entertaining. A couple weeks ago, Travis got his mouth drilled and he tried to hop on Facebook Live and
oh man, half my face didn't work.
Last week we hopped on the whiteboard and we're teachers for a little while talking about being a slacker, being a procrastinator, being a prioritizer, or being a yes man. Talked about that. This whole month at PFP, it's the value of your time. And it's really trying to shine a spotlight on a topic for youth athletes and students in general that is really not talked about much. And that is, how are you spending your time?
Going on that, I said it last week, a lot of times we get so caught up on money, and I'm not saying money's a bad thing, but that's a resource you can always get back. To some capacity, you can always get that money back. When you spend your time, you never get that time back. So we need to be a lot more serious about where we're divvying out our time, because you're not getting that resource back. It's the one thing we're all gonna run out of, we cannot generate more of.
Yeah, and as a kid, I was never taught that time should be like financially budgeting your finances. Same thing with time. At the beginning of each week, you should at least look at your calendar, even as a high school or middle school kid, at least look at your calendar and say, where am I fitting in time to chat with my mom this week, to just have a nice conversation or to have dinner with her? Where am I fitting in time this week to read a book or read my Bible or pray? Where am I fitting in time this week to do some stretching and do some foam rolling? I've learned that if it doesn't get scheduled, it does not get done. It does not get done. So this week, Augie Nieto, I first want to give a huge shout out to him and his family. Augie Nieto is a transformational figure in the fitness industry. He was born in 1958. In 1977, Augie created Life Fitness. You've probably seen the equipment if you've been in basically any gym in America. Life Fitness is a great company. It's a massive fitness equipment company, but Augie was diagnosed in 2005 with ALS. ALS, you guys may have seen, it was 2 years ago, I think. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I don't remember what year it was, but the Ice Bucket Challenge. How cool was the Ice Bucket Challenge? That challenge spread across the globe. I mean, everybody was dumping buckets of ice on one another's head. So stay tuned for the end of this Facebook Live. You might see an ice bucket get dumped on one of our heads. Guys, Augie Nieto was diagnosed in 2005 with ALS. Here's the value of time. Over the next 5 to 7 years, Augie went from being somebody who could hug his wife, kiss his wife, go on walks with his wife, work out, smile, right? Walk, skip, jump. I mean, anything that you and I can do, he was able to do that. 5 years later, and I apologize if I get the times mixed up, but roughly 5 years later, Augie was not able to do anything, and he was in a wheelchair. He was literally, ALS, it attacks your voluntary muscles, so you're not able to chew, walk, talk, move. You can't move. I believe he could move his eyes, but he couldn't speak. Imagine going from being able to do everything to 5 years later being essentially paralyzed. You can't do anything. The sad thing is that, well, not the sad thing, the blessing is his brain still works like your and I's. He still thinks like we do. So imagine thinking all of the thoughts that you think and being able to have these dreams of wanting to walk again, having these memories of what life used to be like, how you used to be able to do all these things. And physically, you can't move a muscle. Your brain does not make the connection with the muscle. You can't move. That's where Augie is today, but he is still fighting alongside of his wife, because most people who have ALS, to my knowledge, don't live very long afterwards. Augie is completely shattering those statistics on how long he's living. You know why? Because he's not willing to give up life. He finds joy and gratitude even when he can't move. So how much more should you and I really take advantage of the life that we have? I believe if Augie was here talking to us today, he would tell us, man, stop being a knucklehead. Smile more, love more, hang out with the people who you care about the most. Move your body, exercise your body. We have these incredible machines that we don't exercise enough. Eat good food. Eat some unhealthy food too. Do a little pizza and pasta every once in a while because it's just good for the Italian soul. But man, like all those things that we take for granted, guys, Augie is screaming to us, spend your time more wisely. Travis, you can go ahead on your story.
Just going on the value of your time. It's one of the things, think about where Augie was in that situation where he was 19 when he founded that company and he was on top of the world. He was a millionaire. He had a beautiful wife. His life was pretty much perfect. And then on an instant, he got diagnosed with that and everything progressively got worse and worse and worse. If he saw how we were spending our time, how would he say to spend it differently? Understand how fast things can happen. So for me, when I was growing up, I trained and I went to a normal training session. I didn't think anything differently of it. And while I was in that training session, I got a phone call, several phone calls from family members, my mom, my grandmother, my cousins, and I didn't know what was going on. So I stepped out of the training floor, I made a phone call, and my father actually passed away in a car accident that day. And for me, I look back at that time, and what would I have done differently? There was countless conversations I might have had that weekend. I might have gone and seen him instead of doing whatever I did that weekend. But understand how fast things can change when you're going to your day-to-day life. So my challenge for the athletes, leave nothing unsaid, leave nothing undone. Those you love the most, let them know it because you don't know how fast that could go. Something as simple as just one training session, life could change in the blink of that hour. So my challenge for you guys is make sure you're letting everyone know how much they mean to you, and don't wait for a major event for you to think about that type of thing. Try to get in the routine of doing it consistently.
And lastly, don't sweat the small stuff. Similar to Travis, I lost my dad last year. I think back to all the small things that I sweated. The situations where he might have done something that I didn't like, or him and I might have had an argument, and I might have let a day or two go by without talking to him. Maybe there were bigger things where I let longer times go by without talking to him. We can't sweat the small stuff. Athletes, don't sweat it if you got third place instead of first. Don't sweat it if you had a bad game. Really go back to work on it, but man, don't sweat the small stuff because life is so much bigger than that. That's my last piece of advice to share with you. Y'all ready for this ice bucket? Just kidding. Love you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Anything else to add?
Hey, we'll see you next Tuesday at 12:15. So
Next Tuesday, go spend that time wisely. Peace.